Urusei Yatsura, keep that. Fullmetal Alchemist, keep that. Dr. Stone, I like it, but I'm not gonna keep that. Bookcon, I miss that son of a bitch. Bookcon, miss that son of a bitch. Oh, Bookcon again. That's missing him again. Kobe, keep missing him, and the trash bag is right there. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are taking things a little different because my office is literally too cold to function in and I really need to clean my bedroom. From your view it's probably very clean, but the thing is that like I do have piles of stuff around that I don't really want to show you guys, but there are piles of stuff on the floor like like my Game Boy Advance copy of Pokemon Fire Red that's just on the floor over there. So today, the purpose of this video while I sit on my bedroom floor is to talk about my anticipated reads for 2023. Yes, I know that we are already a month into 2023, but January has been really hard for me because I like to film during the day, and yet it is really hard to film after work when it's dark outside at 4:30 p.m. I've been really just too busy generally on weekends to film, so right now is a really like the only time I can get it in, but also I really want to clean my room, so here we are. Let's just get right into it. Admittedly, I don't have a lot of debut books on this list. I think it's because for the last 2 years, the debuts that I was anticipating, that I pre-ordered, that I read because I bought them, they weren't. I don't think it's fair to say either that I set my expectations too high or that the books weren't good. I just think that the way I read the blurb, the way that it was marketed perhaps, it just wasn't for me, like the previous debut books. I don't want to call out any in particular. If you watch my previous videos, I'm sure you'll catch the ones that I like were disappointed by. It's not fair to say, like, it's nobody's fault, it's just the way things are. It's like dating, you just doesn't work out sometimes. So admittedly, I don't have a lot of debuts on this list. I only I think I have maybe 2, maybe 3. But I'm gonna go in no particular order, just the order in which they're coming out. The first one on this list is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, which is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. So Priory of the Orange Tree came out, I don't remember when, but I remember reading it in February, March 2020. Because basically I started it in February 2020. And then when we all went home because of the start of the pandemic, I sat in my room and blazed through the last 400 pages of that book. I did really enjoy Priory of the Orange Tree. It is a doorstopper of a book, but there are dragons, there are lesbians, and there are not lesbian dragons. There is a spanning world covering both East and West inspirations, following really diverse and strong protagonists, in my opinion. The plot towards the end, especially when you get to the twist, so to speak, is a little crazy. I didn't totally agree with it, but like, I guess in my opinion, it kind of made sense. I know a lot of people were put off by the plot twist in that, but like, I was like, I've seen weirder things. So it's, I generally have a pretty good stomach, I guess you can say, for weird plot twists. The thing about this world is that it's not really so complex, let's say like Lord of the Rings, where it has all of its hierarchies, all of its different races, species, like elves and dwarves. They're really, in Samantha Shannon's Priory of the Orange Tree, there's really only humans and dragons, and it doesn't really go too much into like this big sprawling history like Lord of the Rings. It's just kind of, well, this is what's happening. This is the history you need to know that plays into the events that are happening today. I keep looking at myself and I keep looking at the camera because I'm using selfie mode. So A Day of Fallen Night is a prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree, and similarly in vein to Priory, it follows 3 female protagonists from 3 different parts of the world and how their actions shape the history of what happens in Priory. So this one I am super interested to read. I don't know how many pages it's gonna be, but if it's a doorstopper, it's probably gonna be a while until I sit down to read it, because the thing is, for January, this past month, January, I only really read 2 books because I've just been in a huge reading slump. I just don't really have the time to read anymore. I try to read before bed. I try to read on the subway whenever I can, just like recognizing that I am in a slump and it's just best to take things slow. But basically I am in a bit of a slump, so I don't know if I can handle huge books at the moment, but maybe a huge book is what I need. Like, there are dozens of different ways to get out of a slump. Day of Fallen Night comes out February 28th. I don't know if I'm gonna, maybe I'll just see what the general consensus is, and then I'll see if I'll buy it or not, because I don't think I can take that book out of the library without seriously dedicating myself to it so I can return it on time. We'll see, but at some point I would like to read this. So coming up also on February 28th is the first debut on this book, and that is She is a Haunting by Trang Tran Tran. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So the book follows this young woman named Jade, and she is going to her father's family's house in Vietnam to like spend the summer with them, I believe, and just try to fit in, try to just play the perfect daughter. In a similar vein to Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho, she is haunted, as the title suggests, and maybe also in the vein of Mexican Gothic, although I haven't read it yet. The house is haunted and she has to figure it out what's going on. I think mainly why I'm interested in this book is for maybe two reasons. I did really enjoy Blackwater Sister, and I love the cover. It's really eerie. And yeah, it's also strangely beautiful. So since this is set in Vietnam, I wonder where it will be different culturally than Blackwater Sister, which took place in Malaysia. And also, I think it's giving me similar vibes to another book another like haunted girls book that I really liked, which is Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. That one was also very like, I think what really makes a book about a haunting shine like a horror book is the sensory experience. So in Sawkill Girls especially, less so in Blackwater Sister, there are a lot of sensory details, like the sound of bones, the flutter of like moth wings, the feeling of water, the feeling of like getting your guts ripped out and like feeling all the hot blood all over yourself. Okay, I'm getting too much into it, but I am interested in this one because I find myself getting more into horror. So we'll see what this one brings me. So the next two on this list are mainly because I really enjoyed Self-Made Boys, so I'm just gonna try and do both of them basically at once. The first one that's coming out is My Dear Henry, which is the Jekyll and Hyde remix by Kaylin Barron. My Dear Henry's coming out in March 7th. And Teach the Torches to Burn, the Romeo and Juliet remix by Caleb Rovig is coming out August 22nd. I have my notebook and my iPad here. So I'm going to do both of these at once because these are both from the Classics Remix series, which is, as the name suggests, classics remixed by modern authors. Previous books in this list are A Clash of Steel, the Treasure Island remix. There is the Robin Hood remix, which I forgot what it was. And then there's also the Little Women remix, who I also forgot who it was by. I'm really sorry. And then I didn't get into it until the Self-Made Boys by Anna Marie McLemore, which you can find in my Gatsby video because that is a remix of The Great Gatsby. So these ones also caught my attention. So Jekyll and Hyde I've never read, but I've read a lot about it. The idea of like the dual personality, the dark personality has always interested me. And there's been a lot of like queer interpretations of the text. So Kaylin Barron, who's also the author of Cinderella is Dead, has this sort of queer reimagining of Jekyll and Hyde in which this young man named Gabriel like is wondering about, hey, where did my best friend Henry go? Henry Jekyll. Yet he meets this young man named Hyde and he's like, you're kind of familiar, but like, what's up? Admittedly, this will be my first time reading Kaylin Barron. I saw them once at a talk with Aiden Thomas, so I guess I always feel like I have like a sort of, I don't want to say duty or obligation, but like I've met you, so I feel like I should read your book. So that is that remix. And then moving on to Teach the Torches to Burn, obviously it's another queer remix of Romeo and Juliet. Now they're both young men. One of them is named Romeo and the other one was named Valentine. Okay. Queer imaginings of Romeo and Juliet have been abound. I'm kind of going into this with less expectations, but I have read Caleb Rovig's other book, The Fell of Dark, and I did really enjoy that one. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you go into my Goodreads review, you can find out like the twist that made it so memorable for me. Just going in with less expectations, but I did enjoy one classics remix book. I'm hoping one at least of these two will also find a place in my heart. So moving on to more queer fun, May 2nd is one of my top anticipated books, and that is The Sun and the Star by Mark Oshiro and Rick Riordan, which is the first Nico and Will adventures book in the Percy Jackson Olympians Riordanverse series. So far, it seems to be the only one. It's not going to be a whole series, but I really love Nico. I love Will. I'm a huge fan of them, obviously. Like, Nico fan art is some of my favorite fan art from the Percy Jackson fandom. Really, I'm not gonna get too much into this, but like, really, like, if you're a Percy Jackson fan, like, this is like a must read. And there's also The Chalice of the Gods coming out. I don't remember when exactly, but that's also coming out. And that also follows returning to the original three, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, as they complete trials to get into college. So that sounds like a lot of fun. We are now bringing another author into the Riordanverse, so that's really exciting to see. I believe Mark Oshiro wrote Anger is a Gift, and I heard a lot of good things about that one, so maybe I can find a way to pick that up before The Sun and the Star to kind of get a gauge for his writing. I've already pre-ordered it. What did I pre-order? I pre-ordered like the Barnes & Noble exclusive signed edition of this one already. Legit, I remember I was laying down in my bed scrolling through Twitter, and I saw this come up, and then with the straightest stone face ever, I roll out of bed, go onto my computer, and immediately pre-order it. So I'm really excited for this one. I love Percy Jackson. I always have one of my top favorite series when I was growing up. So this holds a special place in my heart. And I'm reserving all expectations for the Disney Plus show whenever it comes out. The Percy Jackson fandom is getting fed this year. I'm really excited for it. Can't wait. And moving on to the second debut on this list, And Break the Pretty Kings by Lena Jung. So this fantasy is inspired by the Three Kingdoms of Korea, and it follows, I believe it was a princess who has time travel powers, and I think she's trying to save her brother. There isn't a whole lot of information out there. It's kind of kept pretty vague, but I'm all about women receiving power and having to do something about it. The cover looks very pretty, and no shade, I did put this on my to-read list because C.S. Paquette promoted it on her Twitter. I'm all about exploring different new and diverse types of fantasy, so this one is on my to-read list. I think it probably would be the only debut on my to-read list if I didn't think I wanted to make my own list more diverse. Time travel is always quite tricky to grasp in writing. Usually it either goes really well or it just kind of devolves into shenanigans. We'll see how this goes. I really, really want to read it. Maybe when Barnes & Noble does its pre-order thing again, I'll jump back onto it. And maybe if I remember when it comes out, which is June 20th, I'll just pick it up within the first week. Because it's also really hard. Because the thing is that what's really annoying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that publishers gauge the success of a book by pre-orders and by sales within the first week or two of getting released on the shelves, which is really annoying because I really want to watch this Netflix show for some reason, but I don't have the time to watch a Netflix show. So it's been a month since I picked it up, and by then the second season by then it's already canceled. There is no second season, which is really annoying because then, oh wow, I really want to buy this book. Oh no, I can't get myself to a bookstore because I don't want to use Amazon delivery or whatever. And then by then it's oh guys, sorry, they're not gonna publish my second book. So really, we're all in a weird fucking consumer bullshit. Take a deep breath with me. I am in all sorts of a tizzy today. It is 2 p.m. Moving on. A lot of these are basically sequels, so I'm just gonna rattle them off basically. So August 29th, Iron Widow 2, Heavenly Tyrant is coming out. Iron Widow left us on such a cliffhanger, so I can't wait to read this. Wei Zetian is really girl bossing very close to the sun right now that she is literally burning gold. Can't wait to see it. Coming out August 22nd is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. It is He Who Drowned the World. Did I ever talk about She Who Drowned the She Who Became the Sun in this channel? I don't think so. But She Who Became the Sun, for those of you who don't know, is, I thought it was gonna be like another Mulan type. I was kind of like, whatever. But then C.S. Paquette promoted it on her Twitter, and then I ended up reading it, and I actually really enjoyed it because it's not just another Mulan wannabe. Like, I was pleasantly surprised. It takes everything one step further, and Zhu Chongba, I think was his name in the first book. It goes really hard because it really gets into the concept of destiny, it gets into the concept of fate, names, and it really takes like conquering your own fate to the next level. So He Who Drowned the World is coming in, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Dark Rise 2, don't know what it's called yet. We don't even know if August 29th, if it's its official release date, because C.S. Paquette has not said anything on their Twitter about this, and that's just what it says on Goodreads. Like, I had a whole video about Dark Rise you can go watch. I love Dark Rise. I've read it twice now. I think about them every day. I made a playlist for them, and I'm really excited for book 2. I'm not gonna get my hopes up again about it. Just pray that August 29th is the date. And then what's hopefully coming out in 2023 is the sequel to the Sunbearer trilogy, which I mentioned in my October video, I believe. I really enjoyed the Sunbearer trials. It had a lot of twists towards the end. How are they going to play out in the sequel? Hopefully it's coming out in 2023. Subject to change. That one is subject to change. And then lastly, this one was kind of a little bit of a last minute addition, because usually what I do at the end of the month is like scroll through a lot of like 2023 lists, but then I end up like adding like 200 books because I'm really bad at being picky sometimes, and then I ended up like not reading them, and then that's why my Goodreads list is like still 2,000 books long. So this book that was a last minute addition is not technically a debut. So the book is called I'll Take Everything You Have by James Cleese. This is set in, I believe it was 40s or 50s, and it's a historical noir YA book about a young man who ends up joining, I think it was a bootlegging ring. I don't know. I don't remember if it was Al Capone's bootlegging ring in Chicago, but let me double check. Okay, not necessarily Al Capone, but I think the vibe is sort of like an Al Capone Prohibition era bootlegging crime gangsters kind of deal. I have been doing research into the Prohibition era for a story that I'm working on, so this is what caught my eye. Generally, I think I'll just take any YA that's not a contemporary queer book, because like right now I'm just kind of generally really tired of like modern queer books. It sounds so bad. I think just generally what caught my eye is that like I'm interested in the era. I'm interested in historical queer books, mostly in part to self-made boys, and I'm just gonna keep my eye out for this one. I'm just generally into queer history in general, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it, because if I feel like I have to, then I'm just gonna ramble. And that's 11 books that I'm hoping to catch up on in 2023. The book world is in kind of a weird place right now. Hopefully we'll get out of it and learn some, hopefully we'll get around, we're done fucking around, and hopefully we'll be soon out of finding out. The book publishing community is in all sorts of like shenanigans and stuff these days. There's the HarperCollins strike is happening still. Even me myself, like wanting to be a published author one day, is in all sorts of a tizzy about it. There was also that thing about like Barnes & Noble not shelving like more books. Remember that thing a while back? It was also crazy. Like, so we're like right now we're in a bit of a strange thing. I'm Grace. I'm really bad at reading. Please like and subscribe. It feels so weird to say that. Like, who cares? If you want to, go ahead. Kiss your fandom friends goodnight. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye. I can't reach. Bye now.